All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live worldwide, all over the world right now with one of the NFL's best players, and also now turned hip hop artist. We got Nathan Palmer, also known as NaPalm, right here, right now. How you doing this evening?
Man, I'm doing wonderful, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I hope everything is all good with you out there during this terrible pandemic, man. COVID-19's taking over the world right now, man. I hope you're all safe.
Man, COVID is definitely disrupting things, but I think it was much needed, man. I think the whole world could use a little time to just sit back and chill. So I know I definitely could. So I mean, it sucks that it's taken out so many people, but you know, I feel like now we can all assess life now and get back to living and being humans.
So one thing I do want to ask you, like, what made you go from the NFL to hip hop? Like, what made you change your professions?
Man, honestly, bro, music always came before any sport for me. Like, I really grew up playing, like, instruments in church and always being around music. My brother, he's, like, 10 years older than I am. He had, like, an independent record deal when I was growing up with a group out of Chicago. And so, like, I was always in the studio with them and hanging around him, you know, and kind of was always around music. And that came before, like, any kind of football, any kind of basketball, any track or anything. So it's always just been on my heart, and it's always been something I wanted to do. It's just I kind of felt like, you know, at that time it was the right time for me to go to dive into the industry and figure out if I could make my way or not.
And also, you were also decided to play football. I have to ask you, like, how did you get into the NFL and become a wide receiver, man? Because I watched you play back in the day, man, and you were a phenomenal football player, man.
Man, I had a great agent, Dave Lee. Shout out to them. Um, they at Players Rep. They used to be Players Rep. I forgot the name that they changed to now. I think it's like Young Money and something. But my agency, he saw that I was like a speedster. He helped me get developed. I spent some time at EFT in Chicago training with like a lot of speedsters like Devin Hester, Johnny Knox when he was playing. There was just a lot of good guys that came through there. And so I just had a lot of great examples of how to get there, and I paid attention. And when it came time to you know, to do my thing and shine, you know, thank God, you know, everything through him, I was able to do that. And people saw some talent in me, and they gave me a shot. And you know, I just took advantage of every shot I got.
And the one thing I do want to say, you played for a couple teams there. Like, during your entire NFL career, like, what was your most enjoyable team that you had the privilege to play on?
Man, you're asking what team was the most fun or the best?
Yeah, like in your opinion, like what team was the best that you actually had the privilege of playing on?
I honestly would say the team that I had the best. I would say probably. Man, that's always a tough one. Cause playing with the Broncos those years, you know, you can never take that away from playing with Peyton and you know, all those greats, Wes Welker, you know, Von Miller. I don't know though. It was just something that was special about my first team, my rookie year playing with the 49ers. I think those guys. I think those guys were like the ultimate team when it came to like coming together. Everybody supporting each other. You know, I was roommates with Kaepernick, so like that, like just the type of people that they became even after football. It just speaks volume of the locker room that we had and the caliber of players that we had. And I think like for me, it was honestly one of my highlights playing in my career because of all the receivers, like the great talent I was able to make a team in the midst of. So I think that would be my top team, the 49ers or the Broncos. It's like a toss-up between those two.
And also in the year 2015, you told Denver News 7 that football is your love, but music is your life. Can you tell us a bit more about that quote that you said? Like, what's the story, but what's the inspiration behind that quote?
I just felt like at the time, like I really love football, and in order for you to be successful at something like that, you really got to have a passion for it. But I felt like I like eat, sleep, and breathe music. Like it was just my life. Like I felt like you could take football away from me and I would be okay. Like I would find my way in life. Like I love it. But if you took music away, it was something that probably would like ruin me. Like I would not be okay not being able to do music. And I mean, I got a story like that where in college, it, my third year playing, it was like no music. You can't take a music class. You can't, don't even think about music. We need you to focus on just football. And I will tell you, I was not the happiest kid on earth. So, and they noticed it. And the second I got into writing and they let me take some music classes and I was able to get into like some recording classes, like my play on the football field got better, everything got better. And I think it's just a testament to like when I was young, my mom, like whenever I studied and did all this, it was always music. She was always around music. I was always around music. So I feel like it became something that was like my life. I always did it. Everything that I did for free. Up until like a few years ago, coming out of the league, honestly, because I just love to do music. I played the drums up until I was 18 at my church, and until I went to college for free. A lot of music. I've written behind the scenes for like major artists and done some big things. Even while I was playing football for free, it was just I felt like it was my life. So.
And also in 2011, you were named MVP of the 2011 MAC Championship game. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and what was it like actually being able to be called Nathan Palmer, the MVP?
Man, to be honest with you, it was a blessing because if only y'all knew, like, so much was happening to me during that season. Just family-wise, I had, like, a lot of family deaths. And I had, like, I don't know if you guys know what Bell's palsy is, but, like, I had, like, an infection in my face that was kind of, like, similar to Bell's palsy that, like, shut down the whole right side of my face. So, like, I had to wear a shield. People saw me wearing a shield and thought I was trying to be cool. But it was like, no, I had to, my right eye wouldn't close, so I'm like they had to protect it in order for me to keep playing. So, like, just so much adversity that I had to overcome. And to be honest, in that game, I just played my heart out because I thought that was going to be my last game. I didn't get too many calls from, like, NFL, like, agents right away, or I wasn't getting scouted heavily. So I felt like that was going to be my last game. So I just felt like I wanted to leave it all out there. And I don't like losing. Like, I really hate losing. It's something I've been a sport loser just, I think, from family competition. So, and I've also been a person of faith. Like, I really believe that God gives us the ability to go get anything that we see. And for me, I was just like, hey, other people don't believe that we can come back and win this game. I believe that all I have to do is be a spark, and that was like my intention. I had like one play where I was spinning, and I just refused to not get in the end zone, and I dove, and I think that play is kind of what sparked our team to come back, and everybody to be like, hey, we can do this. Look at that effort. And that was like, I'm getting chills now talking about it because I can just remember it. Like, that's all I really wanted to do was just get in the end zone and show people, like, we can do this. And I think it worked, A couple more series. We come down, we make a couple big stops. Jimmy Ward, who went on to play, he's playing for the 49ers, playing wonderful for the 49ers right now. He makes a couple big interceptions, a couple big plays. And then we come down again, score again with a couple guys on my team, and then I closed it out with one of the game-winning touchdowns, and that was just my coach having faith in me, being like, you want it that bad, I'll take you versus any of them right now, so we just gonna throw you a go ball, figure out how to go get it. and I remember at that moment, it was like, all right, I'm made for this, I'm built for this, let's go get it. And I think that for me, after the game, to be crowned the MVP, was just the icing on the cake because I didn't expect it. I just really wanted us to win. So.
And the one last question I have pertaining to football before we actually move on to your music part of things, I saw on Instagram that you have your own football camp for 3rd and 8th graders. Can you tell us the story behind that? And of course, if we have any listeners right now that have young kids, how can they go about signing up for Nathan Palmer's camp?
Man, well, we were doing the camp in my hometown. Basically, the smaller towns. Like I came from Elkhart, Indiana, it wasn't for many and to become professional. One of our major athletes being Sean Kittle, privilege of growing up with his nephew. So I know us seeing him, hearing the stories, us knowing what they're watching him train. We just had a good example to watch. And so for me, I felt like I wanted to be present in my community. I wanted to show the kids that, like, hey, I come from where you come from, and, like, I did this, and you can too. And that was the basis behind the camp. My mother actually ran the camp with my father, pitching in with local communities, black-owned businesses. They ended up pitching in on the food for the children. And my schools, we held it at 3 different schools throughout the years that we've done it. And it's just been amazing, man, to watch those kids get out there. If they want, they can go to my website. It's actually under construction right now. So I'll shoot everybody over to my Instagram, and I'll post something up there on my story after this. But if they want, we're going to be doing thing opens back up, and the COVID clears up, and we get football back, and we can have activities back. I'm planning something in my hometown for sure, and also in Chicago, where I'll do something to get back to the kids, and we'll do some camps. So I'll post something on my Instagram. My Instagram is just real NaPalm, so I'm sure y'all will post it. And you guys have done, thank you, first and foremost, because you guys have been shouting me out for like a month now. and I'm sure a lot of the influx of people that I've gotten from where you guys are have been tuning in just because of you guys. So thank you guys.
Hey man, you're most certainly welcome. And I do want to say, when I book an interview, I try and push it as much as humanly possible. Like I'm the DJ and station runner as well, so I try to juggle everything. But I've been really excited for this interview because I watched you playing football and I listened to your music. So you know what I mean. I just thank you for providing me with some of your time, man.
Man, thank you, brother. Thank you. You're doing a great job juggling, man. And today's society is like, the more you can do, if you can handle it all, the better off you are, man, because of the way things are going. But kudos to you, man, for juggling it all.
I appreciate you, man. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, though. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I just I stick with it.
Man, like, it takes like a 4-person job.
Most definitely, man. And it's going into your music stuff, man. And in your third year at NIU, you released your first mixtape entitled "The Off Season," which I think is actually a phenomenal name. But what is the inspiration behind that mixtape? And of course, if it's still available on the net, how can individuals check out the Off Season?
Man, I gotta find that link. I think it's oh man, I just talked to my management about that like 4 days ago. It's so weird you brought that up. Man, you did some research, bro. Shout out to you. Yeah, I've been talking about the inspiration behind it. That was one of the years where I was told that I had to choose between football and music. So during the season, they would let me focus on just football, and after that, they would let me do whatever I wanted with music, right? So when I made that, I called it the off season because it was all the songs I still made during the season, but I had plans on once the season was over, I'm gonna release this, or during the season, I'm gonna release this, and it'll catch by the off season, and then they'll probably catch wind of it by the off season. It actually backfired because they caught wind while I was recording it, and it was a whole ordeal. But that was the whole inspiration behind it. I used to be, well, I still am, but I used to crash with one of the DJs on campus at NIU, and he was just a fan of like my style, my music. He was a producer as well, and he was like, "Hey man, let's put together a project, and I'll help you promote it at all our dances and help get you some shows." And I think that's what really like prompted. All right, in my off season, I got this plan. I'm gonna be doing shows. I'm opening up. I think that year I opened up for Drake or something like that. Like when he was on his So Far Gone tour, by accident, totally shouldn't have been on the stage. I still rocked it, but like definitely, I still to this day wonder how I got up there. But like that was the whole premise behind it. It was like to highlight that moment, to highlight that time, and just to tell people like I express myself through writing. So just to tell people and give people a visual an audio visual of what my life was like in college.
And also, I saw a post in 2017. You also auditioned for American Idol. Have to ask you, what was that experience like? And because I know Simon, he's can be a really big arsehole sometimes. Was he an arsehole to you when you auditioned?
Actually, I didn't even get to them because, like, in order to get to that part, you had to sign like a 4-year contract or something like that. And I think at the time it was not ideal for me to do it, so we didn't even push past that. They did a story, but like leading up to it, I actually got contacted by a promoter in Denver that that was booking me for shows, and he actually knew a representative from American Idol that was looking for local talent in Denver and wanted to get some of them out to the auditions. They liked what they saw, but they wanted someone with a story or things like that. So like I honestly, I think like they called me one time, told me where to show up, and once I got down there, like I auditioned, but they had already had another like room set up for me to go do some like an on camera audition, and it wasn't for the actual judges yet. Um, and then that part was in Hollywood. I got a gold ticket to go to Hollywood, but in order to be on camera and for them to run my story, I had to sign a contract, and that's where like I think me being an NFL player and coming out with agents and lawyers and all that kind of hindered me in that process because they were like, "Well, this doesn't make sense for you, so we shouldn't do it." And I was like, "Okay, if y'all think it doesn't, let's not do it." At the time, I didn't understand the platform, but in the long run, I am glad because like that 4 years, I got to move around the industry, music industry, a little bit more freely, and bump my head a little bit more. So that was dope.
And also recently, you released the songs Rule Breaker and Rule Breaker Part 2. I have to ask you, tell us a bit more about those tracks, and also where can our listeners buy or stream themselves a copy?
Okay, so Rule Breaker is on SoundCloud and my Spotify. Funny story, I had a little fling here in Denver, and let's just say I got my heart broken for the first time in a long time. And um, the song that I wrote was the night that we had decided to cut ties and stop talking. So I was saying that I was like never gonna break my rules again, but 3 days later we ended up being in like a long relationship. What ended up being a long relationship. So that was the first rule breaker. Um, Rule breaker part two became a a the sequel to what happens when the rule breaker broke the rules the first time, and where we actually fell in love. We decided to call it quits, just out of it wasn't working, and now I'm back to square one where I needed to start over. But I think this time I felt better about cutting ties and being that rule breaker. Where the first one was kind of more like just in my emotions and my feelings and saying whatever I wanted and being angry. And the second one was like more so reminiscent of me, like looking inward to myself and like being like, okay, you are the rule breaker this time. So like just own up to it and let it go. And that was kind of me. I write a lot about my life, so I can just let things go, or highlight a moment in my life. And those two moments highlighted a person that was very special in my life, um, and I'm so happy. Like I think Rule Breaker Part Two and Rule Breaker Part One were both freestyle. So I didn't write them down. Those came directly from like my heart. And the producer that produced the second one, um, it's so funny because we were making a cover to Circles for my live show by Post Malone, and in between my live band's arrangement for the breakdown part of that cover became the actual track for Rule Breaker Part Two, and that's what inspired me to write a different song.
So, NaPalm, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on right before we wrap things up. That way, if there's anything else I happen to miss during the interview, anything else you want to promote, this is the time, man. If you have a new record that you're cooking up and you want to let people know, like, this is your time. Is there anything else you'd like to promote? We still have you here.
Man, I would like to promote. I got a few records coming out. I got I can't really say yet because we got to see what's going on with him on the back
Hey
end.
man, you know what? You can't spill all the beans. You know what I mean? You gotta keep us anticipating and waiting.
Right, man. But I did just get the chance to ink a special deal with a company out of Chicago, New Face. So I want to give them some love. Shout out to Rita Lee. She's been giving me a big opportunity here coming up. You guys we'll be sending you a lot of records. I think y'all will be the first to get it, especially out that way. Um, and I believe y'all in Canada, right?
Yeah, we're located in Prescott, Ontario, a little town of 4,000 people, 5 minutes from the New York State border.
Yep. I was about to say y'all right by New York City. So I think when we come out to New York City, we were already talking about trying to come over and set us up and put faces and everything to the IGs, and I think that's how we all got connected. So do some more networking and stuff when we come out that way. So we'll be dropping I'll be hand delivering records to you guys if y'all cool with that.
Hey,
But
most definitely, man. I'm not gonna say no for that. I'm 100% up with it.
yeah. Secondly, what I want to say is I got a lot of people to shout out, but I just want to shout out the world. I want us all to get back to loving each other, being human again. What's going on in our world, what y'all see in our country in America, is not really what America looks like. This is not what America stands for. This is not where we should be. I've been to Canada. I don't know how much racial tension is over there or how people are affected by COVID over there. But I know what I speak for over here and what I stand for over here is that we all have to take a stand against some of the things that are oppressing the people in our countries, our governments. We have to hold them accountable from here on out, and we have to lead this thing with love. I'm a person where I believe in sticking up for yourself. I believe in handling your business. I've also been a part of a sport where it was a gladiator sport, so part of me has a gladiator spirit within him and a rebel spirit within him. But I feel like everything needs to lead with love, and I feel like that's when we'll get back to our world, getting the healing that we need, and the music, and the love, and the power, and the power in numbers, and the strength in the people, and our voices are being heard. And I think as long as we keep leading with love, our world will be better. And it starts with us looking inward and starting with ourselves, and then holding others accountable that look like us, that look like ourselves. So that's all I really want to take a stand on today, man, without getting too deep into everything. Um, and I just want to say, let's keep leading with love, man, and want to send some love to you guys and thank you guys for the opportunity to share your platform.
Hey, you are most certainly welcome, man. And this is the time in the end of the interview that I like to give a chance for the individual that comes on the station, just a chance to give their show social media handles or even website links. That way, our listeners can follow you and the rest of your musical journey if they're not already doing so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, all social media is Real NaPalm, RealNaPalm. Real NaPalm on Instagram, Twitter. What else is out there, man? I'm trying to play Snapchat, Facebook, all that. So y'all can find me there. RealNaPalm.com is my website. That's under construction too as well. Like I said, we got a lot of things coming up. And then another handle I want to shout out is Rare Form Forever. This is Rare Form, or Rare Form Forever. Um, Rare Form, just like it sounds, and Forever, just like it sounds. And y'all can go there for a lot of merch, a lot of NaPalm merch. But a lot of those proceeds go to children that have been sexually abused. That's a stand that I stand for, and I get behind. And I've also been a victim of. So a lot of the merch and everything that we sell is for a good cause. So if you go to Rare Form Forever or thisisrareform.com, people can check that stuff out there. And we got some cool stuff. The stylish is cool. There's definitely Denver and Chicago mixed together, and a little bit of NaPalm and everything I stood for. So.
And I want to say, NaPalm, man, thank you so much for coming up on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. Man, it's an absolute honor and most definitely a privilege, and I hope that down the road we can make this happen again, brother.
Oh, man, let's certainly do it, man. I definitely look forward to it, man, and I want to keep building with you guys, man, and make this like a family thing, man.
Hey, most definitely, my DM's always open, man. You need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yes, sir, I got you, brother. Thank you, man, and God bless y'all.
You as well, man. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Love.